What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and yeah, it's a little bit different, a little out of the norm for this particular series. This is a tackle. We are doing a pay-per-view pick'em, but I'm flying solo tonight, so as contrary to what the intro would usually say right here, you do get to see my pretty sexy face, so you know I am alone. We're here to talk in all seriousness about the pay-per-view coming up this Saturday afternoon for us here in North America, which is going to be really, really weird. I think it's coming on at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is NXT UK Takeover Blackpool. Now, if we could do anything else to make that title any longer, I don't even know. Initially, I had a surprise co-host to join me for this one. It wasn't going to be Kristen, wasn't going to be Guapo. I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint. It was going to be the co-host that came before Kristen, before Guapo, before Monoxide and Suave and Heel Steven in this series. My God, I've had a lot of co-hosts in this series, but the original co-host of this series was going to join. And if you've been watching me for a long time, you know who that is. If you haven't, go do your research. There's a cheap plug for every other tackle video that there possibly is. But I'm gonna try and tackle this solo. The concept is not going to change. I'm really sort of rambling off the cuff at the moment because I don't know how to have a conversational video by myself. But we're gonna try and go through it. There's only 5 matches. This does stick to the initial NXT, the NXT framework of what makes a good NXT pay-per-view. We all know, before the UK title was involved, before the North American title was involved, the format for a NXT takeover was a men's title match, a women's title match, a tag title match, and 2 other matches. Now, as we went on, when we introduced the UK title, one of those matches became a UK title match, but that still fell into the category of another match. Then they introduced the North American title, and then it became a men's title, a women's title, a tag title, the North American title, and 1 other match. But yeah, we have Mastiff versus Dennis. We have Devlin versus Banks, which is really, really good. We have the Grizzled Young Veterans taking on the Mustache Mountain. Tony Storm versus Rhea Ripley, and Pete Dunne taking on Joe Coffey, the Iron King, for the NXT UK title. We're going to get into that in a second, are we not? But starting at the top, and for those of you that don't know the theory behind the pay-per-view pick'em, basically you take however many matches there are, in this case it's 5, make your 5 predictions, and then rank those predictions in the order of your confidence. The one you're most, in this case, because there's 5, the one you're most confident in is going to be your 5. The one you're least confident in is going to be your 1, and the other ones fall somewhere in the middle. And yeah, basically, if you're right on your 3rd pick, you know, you pick Rhea Ripley is going to beat Tony Storm, and that's your rank 3 pick. If she wins the match, you get your 3 points. We keep score on Twitter. Now that I'm out of Twitter prison, hi Richard, hi Shannon. And yeah, it's all good. Follow me on Twitter on the night, or I should say on the afternoon, at SpazPhoenix1. I'm going to be keeping the scores there. I'm going to be reacting live as well. Not on here, but on Twitter, as I say. Follow me, it's going to be all good. Really, really lazy afternoon for me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Dave Mastiff, the bomber Dave Mastiff, taking on Eddie Edwards in a no-holds-barred match. And you knew there was going to be some sort of stipulation match. It's their first ever thing. There's going to be a bunch of title matches. You throw in a stipulation match for the hell of it. I like this, because while it is a little bit different having a no DQ match, it's not like they've gone all bells and whistles right off the bat. It's not going to be an Iron Man match. It's not going to be a last man standing match. It's not going to be a big, huge, gigantic cage. We're not going to get the shark cage out of retirement and, you know, kick Enzo out of it because he's hanging out in the cage in storage. That's not a thing that's happening, is it? Sounded more funny in my head. He went on to rap about bitches that tell false stories, which is also really cool. Big Cass not doing so well. Why am I rambling about that? See, this is why I need somebody like Kristen or Guapo to keep me on track. It's a hard job, but somebody's got to do it. Dave Mastiff is absolutely amazing to watch. And I like Eddie Dennis to a certain degree. I keep wanting to say Eddie Edwards because of the goofball from Impact. That's not fair at all. He's actually quite good. But Impact is Impact. Eddie Dennis just seems like a guy that likes being the bad guy, likes being a bit creepy. He's tall as fuck. He's lanky as fuck. So he is a big dude. But they're playing this match off, or this rivalry off, like it's two big monsters. Where you got Bomber Dave Mastiff, who is a legitimate monster, who could be in that Mark Henry category of big, gigantic monster. And you got Eddie Dennis, who's just tall in that sense. I mean, yes, granted, he's good in the ring, and he's got the skills, and he's shown what he can do in the ring and whatnot. And he is into that sort of creepy, malicious, sort of super intelligent in his deviousness character. But at the same time, he's not gigantic. It's not Big Show Mark Henry. And if you hear some of the commentary sometimes, and this is where I'm going to nitpick Nigel McGuinness and the other one, whose name I can't remember, a little bit, because they treat this like it's Hogan Andre size-wise. They treat it like it's Big Show Mark Henry size-wise, when it's really more like Viscera and Kane. Now, I'm not saying that to insult anybody. Viscera, for the size that he was, R.I.P., was an athletic as hell dude, but the comparison isn't quite there. I don't think this is going to be a bad match. I think put these two guys in a ring together with no disqualification rules, I think we're going to have a hell of a match. But I mean, the crowd is hugely behind Dave Mastiff. I think WWE in their little UK branch is massively behind Dave Mastiff. The simple things, the really, really simple things, like Dave Mastiff, they shoot him a little bit closer than everybody else to emphasize the size of him. They shake the camera with his footsteps to give you that subliminal hint of this guy causes earthquakes when he walks. But it's not in your face. It's just a thing that they do. It's all part of the presentation of NXT UK, and it's really good. The appeal of NXT UK is sort of an opposite to NXT proper. If you watch NXT proper from Full Sail, it looks like a scaled down version of Raw or SmackDown. The way they produce it, quality and storyline and all that is obviously a lot better. Let's just be real for a second. But as far as the production of it, it is a scaled down Raw or SmackDown feel, the way they shoot it, the way they do graphics, etc. Whereas NXT UK is completely the opposite, where they've sort of hyped up a house show feel. They've hyped up an indie show feel, so they've come at it from the other direction, which is really, really good, which is why you get really, really simple things, like I was just talking about with Dave Mastiff. Seems to be massively over. I don't see them handing him a loss. My number one, which means it's my least confident pick, because I don't really know what to make this pick on other than my own gut. My least confident pick for this entire show is Dave Mastiff beating Eddie Dennis at 1. We go on to the match that we only had confirmed for us last night on the double episode that aired last night that I didn't review because I was getting ready to do this. I really do hope, on a side note, that they are going to get rid of the double episodes. I do like NXT UK, but absorbing it at double speed on the same night that we're also absorbing NXT, on the same night that a lot of people are absorbing 205 Live as well. I haven't been, as you guys know. It's a bit much, but they're also giving us the stories at twice the speed as well. And as I've mentioned on a number of occasions, we get that, you know, hey, we're going to see this match next week. Ha ha ha. Actually, it's going to be in about 45 minutes. So I'm hoping they got all the TV out of the way that they needed to do to get to this show. I mean, we know that didn't happen for Rhea Ripley getting her into Evolution and all that sort of thing. We had that untelevised match between her and Dakota Kai, which still could have been on the show. You just didn't have to mention the belt, I guess. But I hope after this point we are going to get back to having one episode a week, because then I could do back-to-back. I could do NXT, NXT UK, all in one shot, get my content out to you guys on a Wednesday and call it a week. Jordan Devlin versus Travis Banks. Now, very simply, in my head anyways, you've got an alternate Finn Balor taking on an alternate Sami Zayn. Travis Banks is somebody that I had heard of for a while before this brand started. Didn't really know much about him, but he comes across to me very much as a very likable guy, very, very strong in his convictions guy, good guy, carries the crowd on his shoulders, and has that very unapologetic but earnest and believes in what he says type thing, which was Sami Zayn in a nutshell before they turned him heel. Sami Zayn as a heel, still great. Not the comparison I'm making right now. And he's got that genuine, likable intensity. He's got that sense of being right. And it's a really shitty comparison because I don't like Captain America. But Captain America, in any of the movies that MCU have done, he's always been really, really earnest and intense in what he's saying. And you can tell it comes from a place where he believes he is absolutely in the right. He is morally right. He is logically right, etc. There's conviction in him. And it's the kind of like... sort of like the naked, bare-bone conviction that we got from Sami Zayn back in the day. Jordan Devlin was trained by Finn Balor, so that's an easy comparison to make. I do think they look a little bit familiar, which is a really shitty, very, very surface comparison to make. I do like the way he works in the ring. I like the fact that he's an absolute asshole. Basically comes out, mocks Travis Banks for being away from his family and asks him if his mom recognizes him, which is great. And I think they're both great in the ring. I think Devlin is a more flushed out character, and obviously, if you've only seen him on the NXT UK show, we've actually seen him more in the ring. We've seen him go against the champion. We are inclined to be more invested in his character now, where Dave Mastiff is the babyface who I think is definitely going to go over in his match. I think Travis Banks is the likable guy that we're going to see get beaten for the sake of enhancing this awesome heel in Jordan Devlin. Jordan Devlin's, much like Eddie Dennis as well, Jordan Devlin is a really creepy dude, and the two of them together have that, I'm not only going to hurt you, it's not only going to be easy, I'm not only going to not care, but I'm also going to enjoy it. And there's a certain level to that. And I'm speaking in a lot of intangibles, and I'm speaking in a lot of, it factor type of things, but Jordan Devlin's just got it. Jordan Devlin, I wouldn't mind showing up on NXT proper to have a little bit of crossover. I mean, we saw Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel didn't find very much success on NXT, formed a tag team for the UK brand, and then took that tag team back to NXT, and we saw that just this past week. If you want to have somebody cross over a little bit, and that's fine and wonderful, have Jordan Devlin come and take on Ricochet for a night, because I think the guy, and I'm going to say this much more when we get to another match, the guy is a great wrestler, he's a great character, he's a great performer, but he is a star. And I think Travis Banks takes the loss here. It just is what it is. We are going to establish the first ever this is why I need somebody else in the conversation to keep me on track. I got Devlin winning that at 3. He's my 3 pick. The Grizzled Young Veterans are taking on Mustache Mountain to establish the first ever NXT UK Tag Team Championship. A lot of good things happened when NXT started. I mean, we saw backstage stuff with Johnny Saint and Triple H, and I gotta say, on another side note, as I tangent off once again, Sid Scala is, as the sort of wimpy backup to Johnny Saint, is a good little role for him. He plays it well. He almost makes me think of Rockstar Spud, when Rockstar Spud was sort of a side character to EC3, and it was really good. But we established a women's championship relatively quickly. My screen is flashing. Why is this a thing? Okay. So there's my good buddy that was going to be working with me tonight. Unfortunately, he's not available. He will be with us at a later date. I wasn't saying who that was before, but there you've got a clue. It's a he, not a she. So you cut the entire population of the planet in half if you're playing a guessing game at home. That's why we're not supposed to have shit like that on the screen while we're doing a video. This is how professional I am. And for the 4th or 5th time, this is why I need Kristen or Guapo to keep me on track. We had the tournament, we established the women's championship relatively quickly. Rhea Ripley is what she is, but we did not establish the tag team championships yet. And basically, they didn't say, hey, we're going to introduce a bunch of tag teams. They said, hey, we're going to have tag teams, or we're going to have a tag team title, so go out and find yourself some partners, partner up, make some teams, and show us what you can do. And we did, and we got that. We got the, I can't even think of their names now, Jordan and... Oh, that's terrible, isn't it? The other guy with the glasses and they dance or whatever, and it's fine. You got who I really like, which is Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, who are pretty great. As I say, you got Eichner and Marcel Barthel. who are a developing team. You've obviously got Gallus, who are fucking great, and I'm going to talk to them, talk about them more a little later on. But you've got Zach Gibson, who came into this brand before the brand even existed, already as a contender to Pete Dunne, and then he brought in James Drake, his friend, who we are later informed is his former partner, his partner once again, and they just don't give a shit, and they're gonna fuck people up and rah. I will say, and I've said it in my weekly reviews, and I'm gonna say it here as well, I love the hate that the crowd has for Zach Gibson. The whole, if you hate Gibson, take your shoes off. If you hate Gibson, stand up. I want to go to the UK. I really do. I want to be in the UK at least once and be part of that crowd. If I had the money and the ability and the wherewithal to do it, I would find out where there was a taping for NXT UK, and I would just go sit in for the whole goddamn taping, because I think it would be a blast. That crowd looks like they have a fun, and when you got, like, that crowd looks like they have fun. Words are hard, apparently. They look like they have a lot of fun, and Gibson gives them somebody to hate. He could be considered, and I know this is a bit of a stretch, but for those of us that are watching NXT proper right now, he could be considered, by the reaction that he gets, this brand's version of Tommaso Ciampa. He had that reaction, he had that connection to the fans before the brand, like I say, before the brand even started, he was getting that reaction. When he won the tournament, when he won the second annual UK tournament, and on day 2 he took on Pete Dunne, like, all he had to do was speak, and the crowd was biting his head off. Now, on the other side of the coin, you do have Mustache Mountain, who are tied to Pete Dunne, so you've got 2 title matches that kind of go together, which is kind of why I thought that it wasn't going to be the Grizzled Young Veterans. I thought it was going to be Wolfgang and Mark Coffey from Gallus, because their partner Joe Coffey is going to be facing Pete Dunne, which we're going to talk about in a bit. There's an interesting thing to say about that, though, before we get into this match. I compare it to Evolution, and I don't mean Evolution the pay-per-view, I mean Evolution the faction. You had Triple H, you had Randy Orton, Batista, Ric Flair. Of that, I said, when that faction existed, when they were running full force, running rampant over WWE, and they were going to go for the tag team titles, I was like, well, Triple H is going to go for the main title, obviously. Why would you not have Randy Orton and Batista go for the tag titles? And they didn't. They put the oddballs together to make the team, which was Batista and Ric Flair. Now, that's nothing against Ric Flair. Please don't get me wrong. And it's nothing against anybody that I'm going to mention here either. But Batista and Ric Flair being the tag team and Randy Orton going off and doing his own thing was just a little off the mark of what I thought it was going to be. If you've got a trilogy, why am I beeping? Why is this a thing? I turn the sound off. Guys, this is all the bullshit that you don't see when there's only a graphic up here because I'm talking to people. Maybe that's my failsafe. Maybe that's my crutch. Maybe this is going to be the worst tackle video ever. Who knows? But the point being, when you've got a trio that's made up of 2 brothers and a singles guy, you would think that the 2 brothers would be the tag team of that group, and the singles guy would go for the singles title. Wolfgang, as you guys know, was in the first UK tournament. I really liked him as a babyface. I really liked every time he showed up on regular NXT, and I liked him at the beginning of this brand. When he turned heel and joined the Coffey Brothers to create Gallus, you've got these 3 massive Irish fucking brawlers that are terrifying in the world of wrestling, are terrifying. So when it was Wolfgang and Mark Coffey that formed the tag team, and it was Joe Coffey that went on to do the singles run and obviously get this shot against Pete Dunne, it was weird to me on one level, but on the other level, it made me think of Evolution, and that's not any kind of bad thing, is it? They're not in the title picture tonight. Sorry, tomorrow, I should say. But the Grizzled Young Veterans are, and the Grizzled Young Veterans went over Mark Andrews and... Can't think. My brain not working today. Flash Morgan Webster. So they might get involved. Other teams might get involved. The Eichner and Barthel team were banned from the semifinal, so they might come back and try to fuck with somebody. But here's my thing. Mustache Mountain, as much as they are the stars of this match, and as much as they are the ones that the WWE fan are most familiar with, they are so established at this point, especially Tyler Bate. They don't need these titles. What they need to do is they need to put themselves in there to make the team that's about to win the titles look good, and by proxy make those belts look good from day one. That's my big long ramble that ends in I got the Grizzled Young Veterans winning this match, and it is my 2 pick. Now, talking about titles that we've just gotten around to establishing. Talked about the tag titles already. Let's talk about the women's title. I said in all my coverage of the Mae Young Classic version 2 was designed to get you hyped for the women's division of NXT UK. Was it not? You got Dakota Kai on there. You got Ela Dawn in there. You got Ginny in there. Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm, etc., etc., etc. All kinds of people. And you've got, because they haven't been around long enough for us to be all disenfranchised, like Raw, like SmackDown, even like NXT at some point. I'm sorry, no disrespect to Bianca Belair, but Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler is not a match I'm super pumped for. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to see what they can do in the ring. It's an odd pairing of people, but it's not one that I'm blowing my own roof off looking forward to. It's just not. There are other people that could have had that spot. Nikki Cross is about to go up to the main roster. She could have at least had one more pay-per-view moment before that happens. But I'm rambling about regular NXT. Let's get back to the Blackpool show. Let's look at the division that they have right now. You got that girl Candy Floss, who I thought was going to be a joke and is actually not. You've got, as I say, Zaya Brookside. You got Ginny. You've got Deonna Purrazzo, who's fucking fantastic. You got my personal favorite in Ela Dawn. Because, let's be real for a second, you guys know who I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of the Nikki Crosses, the Paiges, the Ruby Riots, the Litas back in the day, the Ashley Massaros, the Victorias, etc. Ela Dawn, if I want to be selfish and just pick myself a champion, Ela Dawn would be it. But you got a bunch of great women in that division, makes that a strong ass division that brand can be really proud of. But Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley are fucking stars. That's why this match is happening. We saw them both in the first Mae Young Classic. I was heartbroken when Toni Storm didn't win the first Mae Young Classic. I sat there. I actually stood watching the finals of the second Mae Young Classic with her and Io Shirai, because it was so heavily rumored that Io Shirai was going to go over. Second Mae Young Classic was going to end a lot like the first. Roddy Rah. I was the fanboy guy. I was punching the air when Toni Storm won. It was all good, and I thought the trifecta of that would be her once again ascending and getting the women's title for the UK division and being the champion for that division. Those of you that have been watching my reviews, I told you guys, we're going to have champions of those 3 divisions. We're going to have Pete Dunne, we're going to have Mustache Mountain, we're going to have Toni Storm. It's all going to be set, because they're the stars. Then other shit happens. It's fine. Rhea Ripley is the perfect antithesis and the perfect, equal star to Toni Storm to grab that title instead, to get us almost to where we want to be and be the bitch that pulled it away. Rhea Ripley, as much as I prefer Toni Storm, my hat is off 110% to Rhea Ripley. The way she changed herself from, sort of happy-go-lucky, athletic, very, very impressive in the ring, happy-going athletic girl in the first Mae Young Classic, to this absolute punk rock, mosh pit kid badass that we've got now is nothing short of a miracle. Makes me think, not on the same level maybe, but it makes me think of the transition from Husky Harris to Bray Wyatt before mainstream WWE fucked up Bray Wyatt. But you guys know what I mean. She is fantastic. She is the one. She was a perfect character, a perfect imposing character to be the hurdle that kept us just this far away from the one that we were all behind, the one we all want to win, because the retribution of that story that's going to happen on Saturday is fucking fantastic. As I say, if I wanted to make this a personal choice and be totally selfish, I'd say throw that belt on Ela Dawn tomorrow, because I fucking love Ela Dawn. But as far as star power, as far as, talk about Vince McMahon's brass rings and who's grabbing them and whatnot and all the really dirty jokes that could come out of that. Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm is the match. I hate to say it, because I have spent a lot of time watching Pete Dunne recently between NXT, NXT UK, and here at home at Destiny, because he's also the Destiny champion. I hate to say this because of my respect for Pete Dunne, but I honestly believe Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm should be the main event. I really, really do. And that's to take nothing away from Coffey and Dunn. This should be the main event. It should definitely be the main event. I don't think it will be, and and because of that, I think there's a small chance it could be the opener, because if you're not in the last match, you want to be in the first match, as the expression goes. But I've got Toni Storm is my five pick. Toni Storm going over Rhea Ripley and getting the belt from her. It's one thing, and I'm gonna ramble through this again because I'm losing track of what I'm trying to say here. It's one thing to be in a match for a title to be decided and be the winner. It's another thing to have somebody that you have a legitimate beef with and take that title from them. So in that moment, I think Toni Storm wins. I think Toni Storm wins by not winning before. It wins to set up a story. It wins to, you know, there's a sense of retribution, and every single person, every single fan that's behind her wanted her to pick up that thing and be the first. After her Mae Young, like after the hoopla and the momentum of the Mae Young Classic, it's like, yeah, it's a 1-2 punch. She won the Mae Young Classic. She should at least be close to being that champion, and it was taken away in that violent and injury-filled way, and we all sort of felt it. Like, you felt it watching. You watched the crowd in that match that she had with Rhea Ripley in the finals of that tournament, and yeah, I think by not winning there, she gets a greater victory here, and she becomes the champion at the first ever NXT UK pay-per-view. That's not a bad end to the story that started last year with her winning the Mae Young Classic. Not a bad time to be Toni Storm. If I'm right, because I'm putting all my eggs in that basket, Toni Storm, like I say, is my 5 pick. And last but not least, you've got Pete Dunne taking on Joe Coffey for now. Before we even say what this match is for, I want to know what you guys think down in the box below. This has nothing to do with the pick'em. This has nothing to do with a ranking or a bonus question or anything like that. What do you guys call the belt that is over Pete Dunne's shoulder right now? Because when he won it, it was the WWE United Kingdom Championship, because there was no NXT UK. Now that there is an NXT UK, should he not be the NXT UK champion? Because they say both. The announcers say different things, the interviewers say different things, the opponents say different things, the graphics on fucking WWE.com say 2 different things. So I'm going to ask you guys, and you guys can put it down in the box below, and whatever you guys pick, that's what I'm going to call it from now on. Because it's still got the WWE logo on it, doesn't it? Now, if you look at Rhea Ripley's title, fuck, the belts, even the belts on WWE NXT UK are better than any other brand, including NXT proper. But Rhea Ripley's belt is basically a replica of Pete Dunne's belt, which is fine, men and women on equal footing and all that sort of thing. Difference being, the center of the logo on her belt is the NXT logo, because it's NXT UK. Pete Dunne's hasn't been changed yet, so that's an interesting thing, and I don't know if they know what they want to call it. So put it down in the box below. Now, Joe Coffey versus Pete Dunne. Now you got this big, sprawling story between Gallus and British Strong Style. As I say, I'm quite biased because of their relationship with Destiny and the fact that I've gotten to see them a lot recently. And to let you guys know, I'm going to be seeing Pete Dunne at Destiny in about 3 weeks at their Carnage pay-per-view, when he and interim Destiny champion Josh Alexander, the Walking Weapon, they're going to tie up, and they're going to decide the undisputed Destiny World Champion, because Pete Dunne was injured. Josh Alexander became the champion in the interim, so now there's technically 2 Destiny champions. I'm going to go and watch that in a little bit at a show that's going to be great. That's also going to see Channing Decker become the new #1 contender, but that's another story for another day, is it not? Pete Dunne's winning this match. I'm just going to put it out there. Pete Dunne is my number 4 pick. And here's where I'm going to get back into the Gallus stuff again, because if the tag title match had been Gallus versus Mustache Mountain, I would have said they'll take the titles, and Joe Coffey will become the new main champion on that brand, because you could play up a story like a Shield type story where they came in and took all the gold. Because they've missed that opportunity, I still think Mustache Mountain don't need to win those tag titles, so I think putting over the veterans is the smarter move in that regard. But I don't think it necessarily, unless you're going to do, like, look at us, we got all the belts, I don't think there's a particular need to take the title off of Pete Dunne just yet. And as I said, I do think Pete Dunne is going to lose to Josh Alexander at Destiny, so I don't want to see him lose both belts, because that's just shitty. But they're on their social media right now, they're making a big deal about the fact that Pete Dunne has held that title for, I think it's 600 days. I think he won it in like May of 2017. And for a guy that wasn't even full-time on the NXT roster, he and Tyler Bate won Match of the Year in the NXT Awards. So he's held that belt for a long time, and the longer he holds it, there really needs to be somebody special, and there needs to be a special situation for that to happen. And I don't think, as much as I like the Coffee Brothers and I like Wolfgang, I don't think this is that special moment. Now, the counter to that could be he's the figurehead of the brand is having their first pay-per-view, something big needs to happen. I get that. Again, if you're following that kind of logic, I will reinstate my idea that the women's match should main event this show. Just my 2 cents. But yeah, Pete Dunne should win. I think Joe Coffey runs him close, or there's some 6-on-6 shenanigans, or maybe there's a screwy finish or a fuck finish, and we get another rematch at the next pay-per-view, and maybe Joe Coffey gets it then or whatever. But I think as probably the strongest male star in that entire brand, you got to end that show with Pete Dunne holding that belt up, if it's going to be the main event. If it's not, I'll put a caveat on this. It's not going to change my pick. I'm less confident in my pick if this match isn't the main event, because if it's not the main event, it doesn't matter as much. If the women get a chance to main event, then it's sort of NXT UK saying that they were the best and most anticipated match on this show, which for me is true. If Coffey versus Dunne doesn't main event this show, and it is something else, I would probably be a lot less surprised by Coffey winning. Now that's cheating, and I'm kind of giving you 2 answers here, which I'm not doing. Dunne is my pick. Dunne is my pick at 4, if you've been keeping score at home. But yeah, I don't think the last thing we see at the first ever NXT takeover, or NXT UK takeover, is Joe Coffey waving that belt up in the air. I really don't. Anyways, as a quick rundown, it's only 5 matches. I got Mastiff over Dennis at 1. I got Devlin over Banks at 3. I got the Grizzled Young Veterans taking out Mustache Mountain at 2. I got Tony Storm over Rhea Ripley for the full 5 bones, and I got Pete Dunne over Joe Coffey at 4 in potentially the main event, but who knows. Anyways, this has been a bit of a ramble. Sorry guys, I'm not used to doing the prediction show by myself. Hope you guys take part down in the box below. Like I said, give me your 5 picks, rank them, throw them down there. Tune in to at Spaz Phoenix 1 on Saturday afternoon. If you're watching in North America, Saturday afternoon is when the show's happening. It's happening at 2 in the afternoon. So I got a couple chores to run in the morning. I'm going to come back. I'm going to pop a couple Smirnoffs, and I'm going to watch the show, tweet along with you guys. As I say, not in Twitter prison anymore. Richard Townsend, Shannon Townsend, they got me booted off Twitter. Can go fuck off. This is going to be a lot of fun. Quick, nice show. Middle of the afternoon, nice way to kick off your Saturday. I'm probably going to go get drunk and do karaoke after that. Who the hell knows? Thanks for watching. Thanks for playing along. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.